I think we've all gathered this by now, but AI has gone extremely good since the inception of DALL-E. To think that the output of AI used to look like this, and now looks like this, is crazy. Today I'll show you one of my favourite AI services to date, Leonardo AI. So to begin with, when you first visit the Leonardo website, you'll be greeted with this lovely layout here, and this portrait that you can tell was 100% drawn by a human. You can tell by how his costume is made by his own hair. If you scroll down, you'll see everything it has to offer. I mean, it's basically all advertising and trying to sell itself to you, but there are some glimpses of what you can expect to be generating. When you go to sign up, you can use existing accounts from either Apple, Google, or Microsoft. If you're like me though, and you're making a video on YouTube, you can create a disposable email address. You'll be taken to this hub area, where in the main center panel, you'll have the models created by Leonardo for when you want to get straight in there with image generation, and recent creations by other people in the community, to which you can enlarge by clicking Community Feed in the panel to the left. If you decide to have a closer look at any of these images, you'll be able to see more details about the creation process, like prompt, negative prompt, and the input resolution. You can copy the prompt as well and remix the image too. There is an image to motion button, but I will get to that. You can download the image, and I've heard these images are all royalty free and open for commercial use. If we click off that and go back to the panel to the left, we can click into Personal Feed, which will show us everything we've done, and we can take a look at fine-tuned models. If this is your first time looking fine-tuning, this is basically when you train the AI to hone in on a specific art style or character. Google Dream Booth lets you throw in a bunch of pics of yourself, a made-up character, or some cool art style. Then it hooks them up to a stable diffusion checkpoint so you can churn out a ton of related images. Right now, I think seeing how Leonardo deals with the same concept is best. Left for another video, as there can be a lot to it, but for right now, this is where you can see other models trained by people in the community and Leonardo themselves. Now then, let's take a look into the tools we've got beneath it. We've got AI image generation, canvas editor, and texture generation. Some newer additions are motion, real-time canvas, real-time generation, and universal upscaler. The homepage gives you a preview of what these tools can do, but say you've got an idea in your head, you suck at drawing, like me, and you don't know how to get it down visually. First, you would click on AI image generation, or real-time generation if you're strapped for time, and describe your idea, and you'd look for something you can at least use a base image. Maybe you like the pose of a character, but he's dressed like a knob, or maybe you wanted to have a cat sitting by the window, and while you're in love with the composition, the cat is in fact a loaf of bread. What you would do is that you would click on Canvas Editor, and then refine the parts that need fixing up. Maybe you are actually good at drawing or painting, but only need AI to refine it a little bit. Then you'd go click Real-Time Generation. I will get to motion later in the video, but for now, let's just focus on static images. I would completely understand if you found this screen quite overwhelming, but rest assured you won't need to know what any of these are right away. We can just put our idea down here and click the Generate button here. You'll notice a number here representing the tokens you'll be using. I want to stress that the number of usable tokens resets daily, so try not to worry too much about it. You can also see the remaining tokens you have for the day on the left here. If you want to upgrade so that you can use more tokens, that is absolutely an option you have. The paid plan is called Alchemy, and you'll have access to some extra features which I'll put up on screen as well as the pricing sheet. You may have already seen some of the listed features here. I like to alternate sometimes with how many images I like to generate in one go. It will mean that you're using up more tokens, but you get more of a general idea of what the AI thinks you're going for. Photoreal, Alchemy, and Prompt Magic are paid features. All you really need to know is that you'll be getting much higher fidelity, although you might not always want to use Photoreal depending on how creative you're trying to be. As of this video, transparency isn't a paid feature. If you're trying to create a logo, icon, or t-shirt design, I'd recommend using this instead of trying to remove the background later. You can do that, and I'll show you how later, but if your intent is to have a simple design, I'd recommend doing it this way instead. They also recommend avoiding certain models too, so make sure you keep that in mind so that you don't run into problems. Like Midjourney, you can only generate images privately on the paid plan, and that's what the public images setting is here. Going further down, you can change the size and aspect ratio, but you may get a warning based on whether or not the setting you've chosen is compatible with the model you're using. Guidance scale tells Leonardo how strictly we want our output to follow the prompt. In my opinion, we always want to give the AI some creativity, because maybe I'm just speaking for myself, but I don't think we're always as descriptive as we think we are. Then we've got tiling, which will output a pattern which can endlessly repeat. This can be useful if you want something like a wallpaper. So that's the left panel. You're not always going to alter any of them. As I said, when you're just starting out, having a good descriptive prompt will get you where you need to go. If you're struggling with that, I do suggest the website Prompt Hero, which you can use for inspiration. Also, this is AI. I don't think anybody's going to care if you literally copy and paste something you like, as long as it is just a description. That said, we're not completely done with prompt refinement. If you look below the space to type your prompt, you can see some more settings. If you just need something to fill the void, you can click on this dice to provide an example of a perfectly descriptive prompt. Then you can modify it to your heart's content. Most AI models have the ability to add a negative prompt, like for instance if you wanted to generate a field of flowers but wanted to make sure there weren't any people or animals in the background. This drop-down menu is the model you want to use. Some of them are paid, and having used Stable Diffusion XL right there, I can attest to its quality. Maybe I'll make a separate video about that at some point. But the ones you have here are good enough to use already, and you have the option to see even more by clicking here. Remember? We did look at these before. If you're not bothered about using anything different and you just want to use Leonardo as is, you don't have to touch it, nor the next thing I'll tell you about, which is elements. If we liken AI models to different car models, then elements are akin to the paint job, adding the finishing touch to your choice. You've then got a slider to show how visible you want it to be over your model, or how bright you want the paint job to be. You can have multiple of them, as well in case you wanted to mix and match. Image guidance is like Leonardo's version of image weight in Midjourney, but here you can add up to 3 images or 4 under the paid plan. Here we have multiple options as to just how it will be used. For example, if you were to upload an image and then click this drop-down menu, you can specify exactly how you want it to be used. For example, if your attached image was a rough sketch drawn by a toddler, you could give it that extra context so it knows exactly how to enhance it. Before I go into the Canvas editor tool that I mentioned earlier, I'll go over some very quick adjustments you might want to make first. So say you've gone ahead and created a few different images you like, but you decide you want it to zoom in and enhance the subject, or you want to zoom out and see more of the surroundings. You can simply do that by clicking on it and selecting the appropriate options from down here in the new window that comes up. You can also remove the background too and do a general enhancement also. Remember though, you've got the universal upscaler. It may cost more credits and is in beta, so may not work perfectly, but it gives you a little more control with the prompt. Unfortunately, there's no negative prompt though. It may introduce that though, given how often this platform gets updated. Alright, so here we are in the Canvas editor, and we can either load up an image we've created previously, or we can upload one from our PC. If we want to do both and have them be on different layers, then we can do that too. And then we're free to play around. You can control the zoom by holding Control and scrolling up and down. You'll also see the zoom setting up there. If you want to move around the canvas, you can just hold space and then use the left mouse button to drag it around. We've got our basic transform controls. If we enable this tool right here, we can change the size using these 3 nodes here. And if we select the one sticking out at the top, we can rotate it too. As for other tools we come to expect, we've got a brush right here and we can add some text. All the settings for these will run along the top, like colour, font, width of brush, all that good stuff. Getting into the magic of Canvas Editor, allow me to direct your attention towards the colourful box in the centre of the screen. Generally speaking, how many tokens you use will depend on the length and width of the image, but having this as a frame of reference allows you to selectively go through the image piece by piece. Not only that, but when you've got a larger image like this, it's going to struggle, attempting to do it all in one go. In our case though, we're not going to fill in the entire frame. 2 things you'll be using a lot would be the masking tool and eraser tool. Going back to the example before with the cat sitting by a window, if you wanted to remove the cat entirely, then you'd be using the eraser tool. as you're telling Leonardo to draw something completely new from scratch. If you wanted to do the opposite, and you had an image of a cat that you think would look nice sitting by a window, you would be using the masking tool to blend it into the environment. But if you were to do the latter example, I would recommend trying out the image-to-image mode that comes with Canvas Editor to really make sure whatever you're blending in matches the environment, and you can access that here. When you do use either of these processes though, keep in mind though that technically this will count as a new image created on a new layer, and you will be using up credits. When you do create these modifications, you'll have similar settings to as we saw before. You can choose how many different options you want to choose from and what model we're using to do it. You can change the size of the frame, but I wouldn't mess around with it unless you know what the model is expecting you to use outside the default. One more tool here I haven't mentioned is Sketch to Image, which, similar to the image guidance feature we spoke about earlier, allows you to unleash your inner artist and draw what you'd like to see before letting the AI take care of the rest. Now, onto motion. Interface-wise, there isn't much to it besides what we've already seen in AI image generation. When you first click this, you'll get this window that asks you to attach the image you want animated and how much motion you want to give it. If you watched my last video about Pika Labs, I'll put that on the end screen to this video. It's pretty similar to that with the camera movements. There doesn't seem to be a way to change which direction the camera moves though, and as far as I can tell, you can't upload images which you can with Pika Labs. You can also choose whether you want this to be public or private. I assume the privacy will require a paid account so nobody else can see it, which means nobody else can use it besides you. As we saw before, we can also get here by clicking Image to Motion when looking at the gallery. I still have one more feature to cover. And if Leonardo decide to add even more features by the time I finish the script for this video, then we'll have to save it for the next video. So finally, let's talk about generating 3D textures. And the first thing you see will be, well, nothing, because it wants you to upload a 3D model, specifically one with the OBJ file extension. So if you have no experience in modeling in 3D, I'm going to spend the next half hour teaching you how to. Just kidding, I'm going to download a free one from free3d.com. Apart from having the OBJ file extension, the file needs to be under 20 megabytes, which doesn't seem too difficult to find. This looks cool and is under 20 megabytes, so we'll go with that. After uploading that, we'll just name it and play the waiting game. After that's done, we've got the prompting screen which we're all familiar with by now. We can preview 2, which will cost less tokens than the full generation. After the first preview, we'll have them loaded in the center here so we can toggle to see which one we like best. When we're done with all that, we can download all the assets we have or selectively download the updated OBJ. And that's all there is to it really, and that concludes everything we have to talk about. As I said in another video, I am considering making another video to cover custom models, so keep an eye out for that. If you did enjoy the video, a like and subscribe would be very much appreciated, and I hope you all have a wonderful week. Bye now.